Hello and welcome to a very special episode of LWCTV. I'm Junior Daniel Fiske here with my familiar broadcasting partner, Junior Micah Evans, here to bring you a very special guest. Veteran professional basketball player, played over 12 years professionally in the NBA, G League, Euro League in Spain, the Liga ACB in Spain, the Euro Cup in Russia, an alumni of University of Illinois and Lincoln Way Central. From the class of 2002. I'm proud to welcome Mr. James Augustine. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
We just had some questions for you. I'd like to thank you for being on here. First, what are your fondest memories of Lincoln Way Central?
I don't know, just probably kind of how big it was. Meeting all the different types of kids and, all the sports programs and the theater programs and, just being able to, I think probably my fondest moments were probably sports moments. I saw your interview with Ninko, and I know he mentioned that we used to go to East as freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, seniors went to Central, and like that after school bus ride from East to go to Central for football or going back and forth, and just kind of all the different athletes and all the different people on the bus and just kind of spending time together. That's probably the coolest time. And, just kind of going through that type of life. Lincoln Way is a big high school. It's gotten even bigger now with the 3 separate high schools, but at that time it was so much bigger, and it was just kind of a cool experience coming from a small town, especially like Mokina.
Yeah. Were there any mentors or teachers that stuck out to you when you were at the 2 schools?
Yeah, all my teachers were great. We would always go back and we talk about all the great teachers we had. Mr. Scarbeck, I think he's at Central now. Joe Scarbeck, he was my freshman biology teacher, and then he coached me in freshman basketball, baseball as well. And he was just a great teacher. And then, different coaches I've had throughout the whole process too. Like I said, Lincoln Way's so big and you have so many different teachers and coaches. I don't know how much the coaches and teachers realize how much of an impact they have on the kids, especially like at that age and stuff, and especially at just the different aspects of life. So, there's so many, and Lincoln Way was a huge impact in my life.
Yeah. And then finally, what was it like going to the school district where your dad taught and coached in?
Yeah, it was. I guess you could kind of think it would be weirder, but it wasn't that bad. Like I said, you'd only saw him for the 2 years that I was there. You'd only see him for like one passing. I think my sophomore year, he became a dean, so you'd see him a little bit more in the lunchroom. But my dad's a cool guy, so it's. I don't really get into trouble, so it wasn't really that big of a problem.
Mr. Augustine, it's a privilege to be able to talk to you, as Danny had mentioned, but I have a couple questions for you as well. So when you played basketball here at Lincoln Way, your team made school history for Central by being the only team to win the sectional championship back in the 2000 to 2001 season by beating a very tough Joliet Township team. As a high school player, how was it to play in games like a sectional championship?
Yeah, it was great. It was kind of weird because as a sophomore, we started getting really good and we'd get more attention. And we used to play in the East Gym, they had the double levels on both sides. They used to have bleachers up on the top as well. And you could really fill that in. And, the area was, I know it is now, but the area was really strong in basketball at that time. Joliet had a guy that was going to Illinois with me as well, named Roger Powell. And they probably had 3 or 4 other guys going D1. And, it was just a powerhouse. So like people from all over the area would pack that East Gym, and it would just be a fun atmosphere. And it's just kind of one of those things that would kind of help me out, especially when I went to the University of Illinois to play there. It kind of helps you get to that atmosphere, play in kind of weird situations and with hostile crowds as well.
Yeah, and you just made mention your time at the U of I, of course, and then having those deep runs, and you had a deep run at the U of I when you had your visits there. But how, being on those high and very long playoff runs, how is it to have that mental toughness to continually put in the effort and step up in those big moments?
Yeah, I think it's just all preparation and stuff. You always practice how you play, whether that's even sports-wise in the classroom and anything you do in life. If you're going to put a lot of input equals output. So if you're going to put a lot of input into it, you're going to get something out of it. And I think just, preparing the teammates that I had, the coaches that I had through Lincoln Way, and then moving on to Illinois and having the teammates and coaches had to push me to the different levels that I had to play at. It's just, it's all up to them. I mean, I owe a lot of my career to a lot of the coaches and players that I played with, and being able to push me to my full potential that I didn't really even know I had until I got to those different levels.
So, and again, you just made mention your time at the University of Illinois, and of course that team had so many big players. You had D. Brown, Luther Head, Deron Williams, and they had those three players alone had All-American honors in the same season for the first time ever. And all three of them, of course, were drafted by the NBA, Williams being a third overall pick. How beneficial was it to be able to every day practice with these future NBA players, and how did that help drive your competitive edge?
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of funny when you look back on it, because you come from, Mokina, and then you go to Lincoln Way, and then you kind of think you're at like a level because you beat Joliet, like you mentioned, and then you go to super sectionals and lose there, and then you actually go to college and actually play with players that are beyond any almost kind of level that you can be at. So you almost have to, sink or swim. You have to be able to play with them. You have to be able to run with them. You have to be able to compete with them. So you just have to kind of get out there and play. And these types of players don't like losing. They don't care, and they push you to be the best player you can. And I think that's what made our team so great in those runs too, because every day it was a competition. Every day it was pushing each other to the edge, and then afterwards everybody was real friendly, cool. Like it really was a close-knit family.
Sounds like our basketball team. I'm on that, and it seems that environment that you make mention sounds like the exact same thing. It's always fun. Yeah. Now, having that fun environment, did you have a favorite teammate at the University of Illinois?
No, everybody was close. I mean, that's a common question, so I always probably say D, because D. Brown was one of the main reasons. I played AAU basketball with him in the summer. He was one of the main reasons I was going to Illinois, because I was pretty much committed, almost going to Purdue, and D kind of changed everything for me and convinced me to go to Illinois. So I always say D. I see D more these days than all the other players, but everybody still stays in contact. And I mean, we had a close-knit family, we had a close-knit team, and it really was a good time.
Yeah, and you were quite successful on that U of I team. You were the 12th player in Big Ten history to reach 1,000 career points and 1,000 career rebounds. How did it feel, achieving that milestone, and what do you think contributed most to reaching it?
I mean, it's kind of a hard question to answer, because I'm not really big into numbers. I love having the accomplishment. It was something I was kind of chasing, because my sophomore year, we changed coaches from Bill Self, who is now at Kansas. We had him freshman year, and then we got a new coach my sophomore year, Bruce Weber, and they were like, you can really set some records here if you continue progressing into the rest of your career here. So, I mean, my goal was just to get better every summer. And I mean, it wasn't really like I was chasing numbers. When I did do it, it feels good, because all the hard work you've put in, and all the effort you've put in, and all the time that you've put into trying to accomplish something, and kind of shows for something. And, but like I said, again, I'm not big into numbers. I'd rather a team win than have those type of accomplishments.
Big team player. In your junior year at U of I, you made it to the March Madness championship, losing sadly to Ohio State, and then you played against the North Carolina team. Being coached by Roy Williams. Unfortunately, North Carolina won that game 75-70. What was it like playing in such like a big environment like a March Madness championship game, all those eyes on you?
Well, first of all, I think to just go to the environment, it is crazy, because they literally pack a whole football stadium and then cut it off into like a basketball arena. So there's almost 70,000 people at the arena. You run out, and it's just, everything around that season, everything around those weekends are just focused on just those games. But yeah, it was a good experience. I mean, it prepares you for the rest of life too. I don't know if you guys know, but I fouled out of the championship game in like 5 minutes. So I actually didn't play most of the whole game. I started, fouled out, and didn't really play the whole game. And it was kind of a big thing in my career and kind of set me up to kind of go through adversity and stuff like that and kind of progress into the rest of my career and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was cool to experience that, but it was also kind of like a weird experience to have to sit out and watch a team go through that in a championship, though.
Yeah, I had seen the stats when we were looking at like the score of that game. I saw you only played for like 9 minutes, and I was wondering
9 minutes.
But looking at those stats of that championship game, the 5 point, at least when I saw it, I don't know about you, but you guys lost by 5, but you shot way more shots than North Carolina did. You shot at least 30 more shots than they did. How did it feel just sitting on the bench alone and seeing you guys have so many opportunities to take the lead, but not, going through with it?
Yeah. A little bit of both. I mean, we just came off of the high of the Arizona game. I don't know if you know about that, but we came from like a 15 or 17 point deficit with like 8 minutes to go to the Final Four. It was at the Rosemont, or I don't even know if it's called the Rosemont anymore, but here in Chicago. But that kind of prepared us for when you're in those moments, you're like, I don't know if we can do this. 15 in 8 minutes, I don't know if we can do this. And you end up pulling off something like that. So then when you're in another game that's only a week after that, you're kind of in a situation where you almost feel like you're in the game more. You kind of don't lose all the hope, because we were still in the game. We were just missing shots. There were little opportunities that we missed that they were taking advantage of. And I mean, we just fell short at the end.
Yeah. And so that was your junior year when you had that championship game. Then you had another year, and then you got drafted 44th overall by the Orlando Magic, which had Dwight Howard on that team, Grant Hill, and JJ Redick. And, those, I mean, they've all had their success here and there and what they've done. What did you learn playing with them? And how did their styles influence your approach to this great game of basketball?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of probably the biggest thing that I learned is just their approach to the game, the professionalism that they have to the game. They have to show up early, the weights that they have to put in, the rehab that they put in, the time that they put in the gym on and off the season. Everybody really doesn't see all that stuff, but just the time and effort that they put into like their craft and how good they are. But yeah, it was a tough situation for me because I was pretty much guarding Dwight Howard every day, so it really didn't put me into a situation of much success. And that was at a time when Dwight Howard was averaging like 22 and 22 every game and 5 blocks. And but I mean, it teaches you toughness. It teaches you how to like progress and learn to play in the paint, outside the paint. And like I said, I mean, I don't think I was really physically or mentally ready to be in the NBA at that time. I wish I kind of was, but that also progressed me into my European career, which ended up pretty good.
Yeah, and that I mean, like you just mentioned, after you left the NBA with the Orlando Magic, you went to I'm going to say this wrong, but Gran Canaria, is that how you?
Gran Canaria, yeah.
Okay, which of course, a professional basketball team in Spain in the Euro Cup. So, how was it? What was the big adjustment going from the NBA, playing with Dwight Howard, who's had great success, and then going across the ocean to play in another continent?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've only traveled outside the U.S. maybe one time before that for I think we played in Sweden for when we were at U of I. So I was like, when Orlando cut me and they were like, your only option is to go to Spain right now or wait it out, I was just like, nah, I'm not going to Spain. I'm not doing that. And then, at the end, I was like, I got to do it. I mean, the biggest adjustment, I didn't speak Spanish at the time. The style of play, you're not on like the personal planes all the time. You're connecting in different airports. I mean, it's a big adjustment. It depends on like the Gran Canaria was a perfect first spot for me because we actually had a ton of foreigners that spoke English on the team. So there's an Australian, we had a British guy, we had a bunch of Americans, which is very rare over there. Mm-hmm. And so it was a good adjustment for my first 2 years to get used to the Spanish league, because the Spanish league, as far as the country, is probably one of the best leagues in the world besides the NBA.
Do you think the dynamic playing in Europe is different than when you played in the NBA?
Yeah, it's completely different because, I mean, I think the easiest way to explain it is just because of the defense. The NBA has a legal defense where you can't stand in the lane for longer than 3 seconds, and Europe doesn't have that. So you can kind of pack a lane. So when people are like looking at Luka Doncic's numbers from Europe and he's only averaging 12 points, you're like, how's he only averaging 12? That's, like 40 in the NBA almost at some point. And yeah, so like those types of things are different. The different styles of play. There's a little bit more of I don't know how you call a theater to it. If you watch soccer, there's a little bit of a flop over here, somebody laying on the ground. So you kind of have to get used to learning when to be aggressive or not be aggressive. But it's pretty easy. I mean, now the game's kind of going back and forth between U.S. and Europe, and I mean everybody knows how to play both styles now.
Yeah, more physical game in Europe is at least what I've heard is the difference between that and the NBA.
Yeah, as opposed to athletic.
Mm-hmm. How did your experience going from a smaller town, you were born in Midlothian, in Illinois, to runner-up in March Madness, then to the NBA, and then traveling all over Europe? How did that all shape you into the person that you are?
Yeah, it was kind of weird because I'm kind of a private person, I guess. I like to kind of stay to myself. I like my own time. I'm kind of an introvert. So to have to be in the spotlight right away, to starting on a big time team, to then being on a team that's going through this run where you're undefeated throughout the whole season until the last game of the regular season, where you're constantly doing an interview or you're on the TV or something like this, to the pressure of being in the national championship game and then falling out of that game. With that being said, yeah, I mean it's kind of a crazy run, and then having to being able to play in the NBA for 2 years and then move to Europe and play there and live there for I played there for 10 years and then lived there for 4 or 5 years after. So it's just kind of a weird experience. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, my advice to just younger people are enjoy the ride that you're on right now, because it's once you even get to the point where you want to be in life, you always look back at the times that you're at. You always think about the high school memories or your college memories, and it might not even be the best memories at that moment in time, but you look back and laugh. It might be the hardest conditioning you've had, and certain stuff like that. So yeah, it's just been kind of a crazy ride. I mean, it's the experiences that I've been able to have just through basketball, and that Lincoln Way set me up with, that Illinois set me up with, has been great.
Yeah, a lot of success in your basketball career. I mean, after all of this fast-paced life of basketball, moving all over the place, what's been your favorite part of your post-basketball career?
Like I said before, I like my own time. I like hanging out. I like golfing. I like traveling. I have 2 daughters that live in Spain. I was married when I lived there. So, yeah, I have 2 daughters that live there. So I go there 5-6 times a year. I like to travel. And like I said, I like to golf. So I try to stay busy. And then, yeah, kind of see what's next in life. I don't know what's next. Maybe coaching, maybe scouting, but trying to figure out what I'll do next. But I'm not really in any big hurry.
I have just 2 more questions for you. My first one would be, just reflecting on your basketball career, what was one thing that you really enjoyed doing in practice, maybe a drill or just something in general in your entire career?
As weird as it sounds, I always like the conditioning. I don't like running. I don't like anything like that, or the conditioning part of it, but I feel like that has made me the player that I am. I started stretching as a young kid with my dad. I started lifting weights as a freshman, and then, just started doing that. But I enjoy the conditioning. I like that kind of, let's see who's going to make it through the conditioning process of it and who's going to get better. And those are the times that actually you kind of feel who's better in the season too. Because when the time really gets into it, you really feel those times when you push it through the conditioning and through the weight room and the running and all that other stuff.
It's such a huge achievement to get through all of that and know that you can take a break and sit down after the conditioning. I don't like it either.
I hate running. I hate all of it. But I think when you have to do it and you're doing it, I like that type of competition through it.
Yeah, that motivation to know that this is worth something.
Yeah.
And my other one would be, what advice do you have for high school student athletes as like Danny and I?
Yeah, like I said, input equals output. I mean, put as much into it as you want. I mean, you know how much you love the sports that you play or the activities that you do. You know, put 100% into it, or however much you want to put into it. And like I said before, you know, enjoy the ride. Everything's possible. These are the times you're going to look back on. Even if you make it to the highest of whatever you want to do in life, you'll still look back at, you know, the high school times, just, you know, making these videos, stuff like this. And you know, enjoy the ride and kind of, even though it seems kind of minute at the time, just, you know, have fun, I guess.
Don't take anything for granted.
Exactly.
That's a huge thing. Well,
and that's something you always say when you're older too. You always think of it when you're younger at that age. You're like, nothing's going to stop me now. I'm going through it all. But when you get to my age, and I know everybody says it, you always look back and you're like, I wish I would have, you know, gave it something else a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, we want to especially thank you, Mr. James Augustine, for your time with us today, and us being representatives of our great Lincoln Way Central High School. We both want to thank you for all you've done to represent our school with pride throughout your league, and just, again, for your time. And thanks to your contributions, we're at least on the map somewhat for basketball.
It'll get there. It'll get there.
Yeah, hopefully. It seems very hopeful and much potential this year. So, yeah. But we also want to thank everyone who's going to watch this, and hopefully you all want to come out and watch any other winter sports that are going on. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.
All right, thank you.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Augustine.
Nice meeting you guys.
Yep, same here.
Hey, Jane. Oh, he jumped off. I'll text him. All right. Hey, that was great, guys. You guys were great.
I messed up on one of them.
It was funny, though, because you were so flustered. Your head was spinning a little bit.
Because I looked on the paper, and there's just so many words between all of them, and my eyes got lost. Yeah. From Ohio. I thought they played Ohio State, and they didn't.
No, they lost Ohio State in the.
That was their regular season loss.
Okay, so I already finished the recording, so we're good with the recording. The only thing, we're still recording. We're good. The only thing that I need is Micah. I'm gonna get a size for him for like a sweatshirt. I need you to bug Coach Flaherty about getting him like a sweatshirt or something attire basketball.
Ask my coach.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'll see him too. I'll ask him. But if you see him today, obviously you'll see him today because of practice.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, Mr. Featherman asked if we could give something to James Augustine because he came on with us.
I saw him at the game over Bradley. I saw this. I was walking out into the main gym. I saw this huge guy, and I'm like, oh, he's got to be something like finance with how he was dressed. Yeah. And then I saw the face, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was him.
Well, yeah, and I actually thought the last question, I thought he would talk a little bit more because Mr. Brown had told me that he was like big into finance stuff. He does like he has some business venture that he invests in. And I wasn't sure if he would talk about it, and obviously he didn't want to because he moved right past it and was just like, yeah, you know, I hang out, I'm good. But yeah, he was great. He was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he spoke a lot more than I thought.
Yeah, he spoke a ton. He was good. So we're good. I'll probably post it tomorrow.
All right.
We'll clean it up a little bit. And then Mr. What's that?
Just
shut it. Yeah, just shut it. You can leave it there. And then Mr. Dykus reached out to Tony Singrani. Yeah. And he said that he would be available in the next couple weeks. So I'm going to try to get a time with him. And then Mrs. Shaughnessy reached out to Daniela Jakovich. Mm-hmm. And she said she would be glad to anytime.
Look at that, Danny. Look at that, Danny.
Well, look, we'll have a water polo person on. Who would have thought, right?
No one famous. I could interview Brett.
Yeah, and then I don't know of anybody else. You guys have any other ideas? We could get Grab-A-Boy, but we probably could do it like next year before soccer.
Yeah, that would be a fall. And then
there's nobody.
We could think of people.
Any pro tennis players, maybe?
I don't think so. We could probably get. I for sure could get Curran's daughter. I mean, she golfed at Minnesota.
Grace, yeah.
She'd probably be good.
What about the two brothers, Micah? What were their names? Quarterbacks.
The pauses.
Yeah, Corey and
we could get them. We could get them. Dr. Provis still talks to Corey.
All
and
right.
Dr. Tingley saw him when they were out in L.A. because he lives in L.A.
Yeah. All right.
So I'll bet you we could get them. And then, yeah, I know we could get Evan Panfill. Have you guys heard that name?
No.
Sounds familiar.
He played at Purdue, and then he played in the NFL for like a year and a half.
All right.
He graduated, I don't know, maybe it was maybe my first couple of years there, 07, 08-ish.
All right.
But yeah, so we'll make a list and start tackling them. But we could do Singrani. If we can do Singrani and Jakovich before the spring season, that'll be cool kind of intro.
Yeah, to everything. Yeah.
Correct. Then once the spring season starts, we won't do anything anymore. We'll be done.
Yeah.
No. So thanks, guys. You guys are good. You guys are going to lunch, right? Or no, it's advisory now.
Yeah, it would be advisory.
Why don't you guys just stay in my office and eat?
All right.
Okay. Just hang out there and just eat, and then then you guys can go to 7th hour. Okay.
All right. Perfect.
I'll email Mrs. Jerka so you guys don't get marked absent.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
what
guys.
are we gonna do about him? Is he gonna? I saw Flaherty's name at the bottom. Was he gonna come on?
He just came in late though. Dr. McNamara said she was gonna come in too. She must have forgot.
I see at the bottom.
A meeting, an ACT meeting.
ACT meeting.
Yeah, but that didn't start till 30. It was at 1:30.
Yeah, it's been in progress for 13 minutes.
Yeah, so no big deal. But
Deacon
thanks, guys.
Where you were.
Appreciate it. I'm gonna end it and then I'll cut it up tomorrow.
All right, gotcha.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.